David Demers, Jeffrey Desmarais, Anthony Ciriello, Tim Wayner, Ryan Mays,
Here. Here.
Dr. Allison Wayner here, and Miriam Rosa
Here.
Luigi Gallardo,
Here.
and Don Paul.
And excuse me, we should have done the pledge of allegiance.
Oh.
Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sitting at the kids' table.
Item number 4, minutes, special meeting, March 22nd. It's in your packet. Any comments, corrections, errors?
There's one correction on page 7, at the very bottom paragraph. In the name of the grant, it says SEG right now, but it's the SCG. Grant.
Which page you're on?
I feel like.
Oh, SCG.
Yep, perfect. That was,
Which page you're on?
page 7,
Bottom of it. And it's supposed to be SCG.
correct.
Correction noted. Are there any other issues? If not, I'll ask for a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented. Second.
Made, seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. New business. Discussion of possible action on school capital projects. And we've listed 1 through 11. This is what we discussed first meeting, and this is just this is for the minutes. Are there any comments? Questions?
Any more information since our walkthrough?
That could be, well, sure.
Okay.
Sure, yeah. Definitely more information, and we have Mr. Scott Costridge here just to talk a little bit more about the TERPs for some of the specific questions. But if you'd like, in terms of the roof replacement, I don't have anything.
Okay.
B, discussion draft financial commitment letter for turf and track.
All right, so a couple of questions that came up when we were last together was around the financial commitment letter, as well as just some of the specifics for get myself here. Track. Okay, so one of the questions at our last meeting was around the reference list for the other types of locations that AstroTurf has done turf work. So if we go there, they've been in a number of places, and again, I have Mr. Cuthbert here tonight, who can thank you to his work. You'll see a number of places, much larger than any school district. But also you'll see that we have some very local school districts, Derby High School. We also have UConn in here as well. I know they're in Boston College at the moment, but you can see it's a long list, and we have a number of people from Connecticut as well who had their work done. So this is their installation list. On top of that as well, there were some questions just around how state bid and cooperative purchasing worked. So I wanted to bring forward some information just on how our Board of Education Purchasing Policy 3030 works when we have a cooperative purchasing place that we can pull from. It typically just uses a waiver, and I would take it to the Board of Education to approve. Since we have this committee here, you'll see a copy of my request along with Mr. Velarde's for the bid there, so that we can go with the correct institute. And so that we can deal with the CREC and the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing, who they are a part of. And of course, that process is that they are approved by that large entity, and all nonprofit and schools can basically purchase from them. So, and their information as well as their numbers are in there.
So this was the
That's the
questions were posed today.
Yes, yep, they were posed last time we were together, and then also when we were in our walkthrough. And then in terms of the draft financial commitment letter, here's a copy. I do very much just want to say that it is in draft, so it's watermarked for you. Paul Dessel, our town attorney, has a copy now, so he'll have his eyes and his final word on that.
I have a question. I
Yeah.
thought this had to be done right away.
Yes, it does. So you can see from the date in the financial letter of intent that the potential start of the project at Swift would be 4/17, which is just in 2 weeks. So Attorney Jessel will pick this up tonight and tomorrow. And it will be,
He's out of the country.
I
Gonna
just
do it by email?
spoke to him. He leaves on the 10th, so he has tomorrow here as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, because he was supposed to have left yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, and he said that he takes his computer to the Bahamas.
that's why I was, so I wasn't doing it by email.
Yes, but pretty much this is what the letter would be. And this is what would be able to not only get us in queue, but get us started on 4/17. One of the important parts that I want to line out here is that in the second paragraph, it says that any payments towards either project will begin on July 1st, 2023, or after the project is fully completed. The reason we do that is so that number one, our bonding can happen in the next fiscal year and it doesn't hit our year now. So I just want to thank AstroTurf and Mr. Kostridge for being able to do that for us. So that will be finished up by Attorney Jessel tomorrow. So in the meantime, maybe if the committee wouldn't mind if I could invite Mr. Kostridge up here. I promised that I would bring some turf samples for you all to take a look at. And then you could talk a little bit through the lining and such.
Well, thank you for having me here and having the opportunity. I did watch last meeting, so I did see some of the questions that were out there. I would like just to give you a little background on myself. I'm actually a registered landscape architect in Massachusetts. I was a project manager for 10 years, left there, started this, now I'm in my 20th year. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been with AstroTurf for 20 years, actually the longest standing distributor. So I have a extensive background in both base construction and turf construction. As we were talking, in a month, we'll be doing Boston College Alumni Stadium, Tufts University D1 baseball field, Northwest Catholic. We're doing their new fields in 5 weeks. So we have a very full docket this year. What gave us the ability to move this project forward? Northwest Catholic got pushed. We were able to open a slot for this to happen, for the manufacturing plant to produce the product for us. So in terms of the project, again, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, go back to the last meeting, maybe to answer some of your questions. And the questions that I heard in terms of the base construction, you had some questions about drainage. I've gone there, I pulled back the turf taking a look at it. On every project standard practice is to do D-ring testing. It's a dual durometer testing. It's a third-party agency. They will come out. I will take the turf off. They will do 10 spots on the field. They will do the drainage test, give the drainage results. I don't find that if there was a problem with the subgrade, you would know it by now. Most fields drain at 40 to 50 inches per hour. There shouldn't, you would find that at this point, especially with the SWIFT. You have not even what's called a finishing stone. You have a 3/4 inch really clear stone. So it really is a non-issue. I mean, the test is going to come back fine. So both projects lend themselves to what we're trying to do. To be honest, they're not overly complicated projects. Just for example, removal, which you would think would, it's about 500,000 to 750,000 pounds of infill, really takes 2 guys 2 days. Because with the machinery we have, it's a very quick process. So this is right in our wheelhouse. We do this all the time. In terms of the pad, because one of the high school is recommended they have a pad. This is the pad that would be put down, Brock. It's a very well-known pad in the industry. It's probably the premier pad that they use. The other type of pad that's used in the industry is a recycled pad. It doesn't have the same consistency as the Brock does. The Brock is a product that we're putting down at 6 of the 12 schools that we're doing this year. Understand that the pad is at a minimum of a 2-cycle pad. So the next time you have to replace a field, you'll just take off the turf, leave the pad in place, and you'll just put down a new piece of turf. I think it can last you longer. Boston College, they have the pad. It's been down a long time. I'm not replacing it. I'm just putting the turf back on. So a good investment for a long-term process. And then the turf itself is, so I brought you 2 samples. This turf is a very standard commodity product in the industry. It's a dual fiber. It's a monofilament and a slit filament with no, as you can see, no root zone. This is a product that we have under the proposal. So the difference is this root zone that you can probably see from the side. What that does is basically it traps the rubber and sand in that layer. So in the crease areas, in the, the penalty kicks, all those high wear areas, it's going to secure the rubber in there and give you another barrier. Whereas this product will take more maintenance because the reality is you get displacement in those high traffic areas, which is basically what's happening on the field now. And you get down to the backing, takes a lot more to get there. So I say that turf is no different than carpet. You buy it by how many square ounces per square yard. As you can see, the product you're getting has a lot more product. I tell people all the time, the only thing that breaks down in turf is the turf. Sand and rubber don't break down. So UV is what breaks down turf. So it only makes sense to have more fiber so that it will last you a longer period of time. So that's the product. This is the product in which we have in the proposal and would be installed under the fields. This is the chain. All these are standard color lines. Any of those can be picked. They're standard. They go into the field being tufted. I don't know if you've been involved in a field lately, but basically as many lines as possible would be physically tufted into the product so that there are less seams. So, white is the soccer, sidelines, end lines, all that will be tufted. Shop drawings will be produced to the town. That will show every inlay, the panel configuration, what's inlaid, what's not. So everything that we're doing under this contract is an industry standard. As well, we have not only the D-ring testing that you have in the proposal, but at the end of the project, we will also do HIC testing. We also do GMAX testing. That will give you those safety aspects. And that is what, this pad will help. Not necessarily for the short term, because this product with rubber and sand infill will meet all your GMAX and HIC testing. The pad helps you further down the road if you get high traffic areas or you get whereas this is basically a bumper to bumper. It can't fail you until the turf has to be removed and replaced. So that's what you'll get on this. What I didn't mention is, again, because I want you to feel comfortable, once we peel up the turf, we will have a laser grading done. It's not a like dozer with a laser grader on. It's a 6-foot laser grading machine just for this. The field will be tested for planarity. It requires an 1/8 and 10. The laser grading machine will make sure that happens. I've been using a laser grading company for the last 20 years. I've never had a field fail. So I tell people all the time, we're only as good as what we go on top of. So the base has to be correct in order for the finish to be correct. So I'm a very big advocate of all that kind of testing, and not my testing, but a third-party testing, so that there's no question. And to be totally honest, it helps me during the installation process. The better the base is, the much easier the install is. So I want it perfect because it makes my life. The only other thing I would say is on the Swift school. You have 3/4 inch stone there. In some areas I saw inch stone, which is not gradable, right? We can't grade an inch stone to an 1/8 inch. The lucky part about this is the concrete edge that we have there, and I double checked today again, is a 2.5 inch. It's a 2-inch recess, plus there's a half inch of rubber on top. What that will allow us to do is leave the stone that's there in place, put in a 1-inch AZAC board around the perimeter. We'll glue it and screw it, so it's all around. That way we'll be able to add a 1-inch layer of the finishing stone to be able to get the planarity correct for the job. That will leave us the proper amount, which is 1.5 inches of reveal, because you always leave a 1/2 inch of fiber exposed. And just again, for information purposes, if you put this in without the AZAC board, the entire perimeter would look black, because basically the rubber would fill up to the top, and then it would just be a constant maintenance, process. So I think I went over everything,
Thank you.
but I can answer any questions you have.
No, you answered my question about the padding.
Great.
So the padding is going in both the football field and Swift?
At this point in time, my instructions is that it's going in just the high school,
Okay.
just high school.
Same material.
Same exact material, yeah. Yeah. What I didn't talk about, which I might as well, is the track. So the track is, Luigi had talked about it a little bit. What wasn't mentioned is, per the proposal we gave you, we will be milling off 1 inch of asphalt and replacing 1 inch of asphalt. So it's not just replacement of the rubber. Because of some of the surface cracks and things of that nature, we'll be replacing the asphalt. And the process in which we'll do that is we will do that first so that we allow the track to have 15 to 30 days to cure while we're installing the field. The track will cure and then we'll be ready for the rubber surfacing. So that's the process in which we'll do that.
How many weeks to do the high school? About,
The high school is going to take about 7 weeks, including the track. And the only thing I would say, and obviously you're probably well aware, is weather. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So the weather plays a big part in our process. The weather, bad weather is good for the curing of the track, bad for installation of the turf. But, we'll work through that process.
how many weeks do you think on Swift?
Swift will be from start to finish, will probably be 6 weeks, including the base work. And our hope is that we can get this in before we start Boston College on June 1st. We wanted our guys to have like want to make sure they get all their kinks out.
You haven't got too many other jobs that you're gonna abandon us?
Well, in fact, this is why this,
Just a fair question.
it's an absolutely fair question. That's why this is a critical schedule for me.
Mhm.
It actually fits in perfectly. And that's why I had mentioned the Northwest Catholic School.
Mhm.
They got pushed 2 weeks. AstroTurf's supposed to be making my material right now for them. I'm able to push that slot 2 weeks, be able to manufacture the material, which AstroTurf has confirmed that they would do for us. So that's why I'm trying to fit it into this process. If again, I've been working on this for a long time. I know I know what's going on. There is a tremendous amount of fields being built this summer. I have already put in a letter of intent for the rubber, sand, and for the turf, and for the pad, for both projects. So I do that out of abundance of caution, because I know what's out there. If these 2 projects go forward, I will not be accepting any more projects until the fall. So after these projects are completed.
How about the milling of track? Any issues with that?
I don't. Again, we're really talking about a very straight.
No, I understand, but there's a lot of road work being done.
Right. Again, I've been assured that we can fit into the schedule. That's why it's critical to make sure that I can,
Mhm.
push them, get all the letters of intent or even the proposals or purchase orders to them.
Cracks in some of the spots underneath the track or at the track. Is that something that it's just normal, or is that something that could be
Yeah,
a problem underneath?
It is a standard protocol in the Northeast. I mean, this is, again, if we were to go back to base construction, it is unbelievably critical, the type of base they use. Because we have all the frost heave issues, and with the seasons we've had, it's even worse. Because we don't get the deep freeze and it stays frozen the whole time. It's been, the fluctuation. So it is a standard issue we have.
It's a vision.
In the Northeast with
Mhm.
tracks. I mean,
Right.
they crack.
You don't see anything that it could be underneath.
Right.
It has to be.
No, I mean, if you saw, major separation and things like that, and which we haven't, AstroTurf and Recatan will be doing that, doing that aspect. They've come out and personally inspected the track themselves. They're the ones that made the recommendation of what needed to be done. They're the ones that are going to be warranting the whole process. So, everything will be done under my umbrella. And again, that's the one thing I can reassure you. I'm only as good as my last job. So I don't cut corners.
At our last meeting, there was a question around project oversight.
Yes.
So I certainly looked into other districts nearby. Wookett just recently had their turf changed, so I asked if they had somebody. They gave me the name. What was the group? Colliers Engineering. But again, if there's somebody in particular from this group that you'd like us to look into, I'm happy to research that. Speaking with Mr. Costridge, it sounds like you've done jobs with oversight, you've done jobs without, what's your thought?
I have absolutely zero problem with the oversight. There's nothing I'm doing that anybody could have fault with because it's being done per, manufacturer's recommendations, per, collegiate sports and all that. So there's absolutely no issue. The only, so if that's the direction you want to go, I'm 100% open to that. I've worked with probably every premier sports architect in New England. So whoever you decide to hire, I've probably worked with them in the past. I've probably given presentations to them in the past and they're at their company. So that's a non-issue for us. But again, you will get the testing required that I really want to make sure. I mean, it's just standard protocol testing. You have to have the GMAX, you have to have the HIC, you have to have the planarity, and you have to have the drainage. So that was all included for, the proposal I set for. So after that, that's your call.
Are these being done simultaneously or one right after the other?
Which one?
Either one,
The
the
two
two
fields.
schools.
No, so the way in which I am able to fit this into the schedule to make it all work is that we would be doing the Swift starting on the 17th, and we will start the high school on July 15th.
Yeah, we have to let the high school finish out.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's,
The Swift, we can kind of reroute the vets into the other fields, but the high school's just.
so you have 2 windows in your schedule.
Right.
Okay.
And with the pictures that Luigi handed out, the one thing that you have in your favor is the Swift goal will be done. And it will have all the sports in which, if they need to practice, they can go over there and practice. So it'll be available for them to use.
Strange question, maybe. With the thicker, higher grass versus the lower stuff,
These are the same height.
it is the same height.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
They're the same height. They don't look it.
right.
They are.
No, they don't.
I know. They don't.
Because that was-
Well, because this falls over. So this has structure because of the root zone. So it kind of stands up.
Track, are there different samples here?
No, these are all the same.
Okay.
They overnighted me these. I just wanted you to have them see.
They look different. The one on the bottom looks bigger,
No,
no?
they're all the same. Yeah, so
You're saying that one, it tends to mat down easier or?
what's that?
The turf itself?
No, it won't. I mean, once you have the infill in it, that's what will hold it up. Right? That's what will hold up the process. This is just, again, you have the root zone as part of the structural integrity. It's funny because you walk on this field before I infill it and you're like, oh, this is nice and soft. And you walk on this after I infill it and you still feel the rocks.
Right.
Because you're down, you don't have all the fiber in it. So it's just,
And there's a difference. I've coached on both of them. And the giblets, there's the rubber stuff that's in there, moved around a lot more on its displays than it does with
Gotcha.
Will any of that, what we call giblets,
Mhm.
will they
oh, front rubber.
will they come out and fall onto the track? I mean, do they gotta be blown back in?
I mean,
Or do they see?
of course, there's, tracking of some of it over. It's a minimal issue. I mean, really what happens is it gets into the trench drain.
Mm.
And that's what really needs to be cleaned on a little bit. It kind of flushes through and so forth and so on. So it's really not a non-issue. I mean, you have it now. I mean, we're really not doing anything different than what you have now, except, a turf that's more in today's standards and, the pad. So, it's not going to be, I mean, it's going to look different. It'll have a different view. It will be new, be pretty, and it'll have all the safety factors you need to, You say,
You mentioned the 8 and 10, that's the overall pitch. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry.
You said the 8 and 10 before eighth to 10.
Oh, no, 8 and 10 is the plenary. So basically with a rolling, it's called a rolling bar test, it's a 10-foot straight edge.
Okay,
The deviation can't be more than an 1/8 inch within that 10 feet.
gotcha.
Yes, it's extremely strict. And it's due to the ball roll, ball rebound. You don't want somebody kicking it and it jumping. You want it smooth. And then secondly, for me, when I brush in the infill and I cut it, right, with our big laymore, if there's a low point, you're gonna get a pocket.
Sure.
And if it's all flat, it'll just cut smooth. So.
What sort of maintenance is required for these fields?
So there is maintenance that has to happen. Actually, Luigi and I were just looking at a piece of equipment that's not that expensive that can take care of this. But yeah, I mean, there's, the same type of thing, the high wear areas, those kind of areas. They're gonna need maintenance on a weekly basis but the majority of the field will be good. For me, for maintenance, what really is, it's the organics. It's the kids with the gum and the this and the that and the leaves, and that's what creates the bigger issue. We want to make sure those organics are off the field.
No metal spikes.
Right.
No, that's why we're getting away from the baseball fields at the Swift Middle School. And lining it with all the other sports that we have in town. And then they'll be able to practice there. We'll make sure there's bases so they practice there, but they'll play their games offsite. Just so that is not even a thought. We're gonna make this investment here and we want to protect it.
What about non-students, non-residents that we're using, how are we gonna police that? At Swift?
Dr. B could probably does that a little bit. She's working on it now.
That's a discussion we should have again. Once the installation's in, I mean, this is a huge investment. There has been conversation around putting a gate around it and giving, the key to the group that has officially reserved the time and space. And if something happens, then that group is, in charge of that. It's a fine balance though, because it is a field that is highly used by our community and community appreciated by both ends. So like I said, I think it's a longer discussion that has to come back around.
Signage,
Yes, that can help.
definitely put some signs up.
Not cameras.
How about some armed guards and?
Dogs. We actually will put signs up before we leave. We have
I live around the corner, I'll
signs
stand guard.
that basically come with the field. There's there's signs that
We took a tour a couple weeks ago at Swift and we saw like in front of the soccer goals that those areas were really worn out just from wear and tear. What can be done to, protect that area or reinforce it a little bit better?
Yeah, it's just, again, the root zone's gonna help, because it's gonna add that protective layer. And it's just making sure you brush that back in. It's really selected areas. And we, a lot of times, will replace creases because really the gist of the field is fine. But the creases and some of those high traffic areas do get replaced, but they get replaced in whole. So, and right now, what you're doing is just putting a patch this big there. What you want to do is replace the circle. You want to replace the goalie box. You want to replace, so that's really where you're going to have, more of that. I would never say it's 100% maintenance free. It's not a true statement. It takes maintenance. It just doesn't take the kind of maintenance that a natural for. There's no
I think we're
comparison.
fighting the load now with something new, but my guys are on there every day. Just trying to make it safe and bringing giblets out there and filling holes and gluing mats down.
The giblets are all the same, right? There's no different
Yep.
quality giblets.
No,
When they roll this out, how big are the
panels are 15 foot
15-foot
by
wide?
the length of Well, each is a football field, so the main body fields will be
15 by 140 yards.
150 feet wide. So each one will be the full length, full width of the football field.
Louise, you talked about something doing at the far end. Where are we on that? Were we thinking about doing that or no?
Talking about the high school.
Yeah, the high school, the far end of the high school where the
Yeah, the cost is too much for what we have in there. My idea was to extend that a little bit so we can use it for utility spaces and do the high practice traffic. But it was the design and everything was.
Is there anything
where the high jump was and all that?
with the existing field to be able to create it from that? So that you get 4 or 5 years out of that and before you can actually fit it out?
No, I believe we're at our end.
Yeah.
Okay, in last week's meeting, we talked about oversight. So I did reach out to Castle Booze. They did a fields for us.
Oh, Castle Booze.
Yes, it's Swift in the high school. And I asked for a quote. They gave us one for oversight. We believe in oversight. We've had problems in the past.
Yeah.
So nothing against your friend.
I've worked with Castle Blues many times,
Mhm.
so it's a
There are-
non-issue.
There are folks that we were looking at for the roof oversight too.
Yes,
That's great.
they've done a great job for us over the years. So.
Okay, wonderful.
And I spoke to the landscape architect, Luke McCoy,
He's doing Northwest Catholic.
Northwest Catholic in Springfield,
Correct, West Springfield.
West Spring.
Correct. So
Nothing.
I'll be seeing him a lot this summer.
Sorry.
It's fine. No, he is, there are probably 4 major sports architects in the Northeast, and he's one of them. It's them, Activitas. There's probably 4 that are.
Mhm.
Did he give a proposal in terms of a quote?
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't ask for a quote.
okay,
I had a conversation with him
okay,
and he addressed it.
wonderful.
Are there any questions for this gentleman?
We covered it.
Pretty much covered.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate it very much.
No problem.
Is there anything else to come before the committee?
Not something like this.
So Paul's gonna be looking at finishing up tomorrow.
Yep, so he's already looked at it. He just needed to finalize it.
We wanted to make sure it was a state contract, which it is.
Yes, correct.
So the questions won't be. Does anybody have any questions?
For both schools.
Yes.
These projects, are they gonna be, are we tackling them all at once or are we gonna split them up or
Well-
how we?
The purpose, I think, from the last meeting was to start with the track and get it going because it's a real seasonal thing. And then we can delve into the rest of them. We can certainly do the boiler work at Judson. And HVAC. My understanding from the news tonight that there's millions, 9 million.
It was actually 150 million
Oh.
across the state. So I think they're releasing letters today. So
I
after,
wondered about a big chunk.
did they?
Yes,
Oh,
9 schools.
okay, so
for
when,
HVAC.
all right, so when we're finished, that meeting, I'll go check my email.
But I think, if I remember correctly, it's August or September. We can apply.
Correct, for another round.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so if we didn't get it, we will apply to the next round. If we did get it, then at our next meeting, we can talk about which schools can move forward.
Right, we can talk about the bidding process
Correct.
to do this.
Yes,
So we'll stay on top of the projects, hopefully,
correct.
to move forward.
So Waterbury got in schools.
Yes. Yeah, it was on the news tonight, big news. Superintendent was speaking.
Yeah, I'm sure she's.
Think you weren't gonna get it?
Yeah, they got 9 schools. I don't know. Okay, all right, well, I'll check my email.
Does anybody have any questions? If not, motion to adjourn.
Gotta make it.
Okay, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. Right.